What is up, everybody? Sean the D-Man here, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you guys had yourselves a great weekend. We are back with another video. So this past Friday, I dropped a video talking about Highguard, um, a game that has since then shut down its website, laid off some of its developers. I don't think what else was it. There was some other stuff that happened. But this video, because one of the things I talked about in Friday's video was the fact, like, just something felt off about this game. Obviously, we know uh, Jeff Keighley talked about the game during the Game Awards, saving it for the last spot, which was weird. Um, and then we didn't hear anything about it. There was like no open beta, there was no early access, there was no marketing for the game or anything like that. There was nothing. We didn't hear anything about the game from the time we saw it at the Game Awards in December of 2025 up until it's released like January 20th or something like that, around that time. Recently, so at the time of me making the first video, more information has come out. So we're gonna just jump right into it. This is off the Geeks and Gamers website. Definitely go check it out. But reports reveal that Tencent quietly funded Highguard as a live service shooter. And this immediately sparked a lot of, like, oh, this makes sense. Now, Tencent is a Chinese-based company, and they've had some controversies with some stuff, links to, like, the CCP and all that stuff. Um, so there's a lot of issues people have with Tencent. So let's dive into this article. All right, so I think this is a pretty lengthy article. So anyway, all right, so it turns out that the Chinese company Tencent was the financial backer funding Wildfire's live service shooter disaster Highguard. The troubled trajectory of Highguard just took another turn, and this one's raising serious questions about transparency, funding influence, and the long-term viability of the game itself. A new report has revealed that Chinese tech and gaming giant Tencent was quietly bankrolling the project behind the scenes, a financial connection that was never publicly disclosed prior to the game's launch. Now, as player number crater, I gotta see where it's at right now. But as player numbers crater, developers are laid off, and the game's official website goes dark. Funding revelation is adding fuel to an already growing fire. Now, again, what was it, Wildfire? Let me see, was that what it's called? I think they no that they put themselves. I believe they put themselves as a indie company. Well, apparently that's not the case. Apparently that is not the case. And it also brings into Jeff, because I think we're gonna get to it here in a second. But one of the people, bankrolling the game sits on, I believe, the board of directors for the Game Awards. I think it should be here in the article. I don't want to misspeak, so maybe I think that's right. So okay, so hidden funding raises transparency questions. So according to reporting highlighted by GameFile and picked up by multiple outlets, Highguard developer Wildlight Entertainment was financially backed by Tencent, a detail that had not been publicly clarified during the game's development or marketing cycle. Prior to the disclosure, Wildlight had described itself as a fully funded studio without naming the source of that funding. So, more than likely, what would have happened if they would even came out and like, yeah, Tencent is backing this. Nobody probably would not have touched this game. Now that remains to be seen, obviously, but it seems like Tencent is just um it's just a lot of issues. So I asked Grok, uh about Tencent. I basically asked the negativity of and criticisms of Tencent in gaming, and this is what it gave me. Tencent faces significant backlash, often tied to Chinese roots, business practices, and government ties. Key issues: game copying and cloning, frequently accused of reskinning Western hits, e.g., Honor of Kings mirrors League of Legends, now owned by Tencent. Crossfire clones Counter Strike. QQ Speed copies Mario Kart. Terra, Terra Island called World of Warcraft clone. Sin resembles Cyberpunk 2077. Critics call it brazen IP theft, monetization, and addiction. Heavy gacha pay to win in mobile games, e.g., thousands of spending for items, complies with China's spiritual opium crackdowns, adding facial recognition, midnight patrols, as an example, to limit minors, but accused of fueling addiction elsewhere. Censorship and content control removes LGBTQ plus elements, politics from games for China. E.g., I get, for example, Black Myth Wukong review guidelines banned COVID/feminism talk, influence partners like Ubisoft for China versions. Now, obviously, Ubisoft has been going through their um own situation because with the failures of Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws, Ubisoft has just been in a financial disaster. Um, Monopoly Antitrust owns/invest in 50% of top games revenue, blocked mergers, fined for M&A, stock drop 46 billion on 2023 gaming regs, geopolitical ties blacklisted by US in 2025 over alleged Chinese military links, data spy concerns. I think TikTok was a part of this as well because I think the ByteDance ByteDance is, if I remember this correctly, their parent company was Tencent, and so that was a big issue because a lot of people, you know, farming data for the CCP and all that stuff. So I believe that was part of that as well. And then player exploitation, price hikes versus originals, aggressive microtransactions, and own titles like Path of Exile. Despite this, Tencent drives esports 10 billion plus revenue and innovation. So that's part of what some of the criticisms of Tencent is. It's just situated. It's a very predatory kind of company. I don't like microtransactions anyway. I don't like it's really really stupid having that kind of stuff. But that's near here or there. So, all right. So back to the article. For players and industry watchers alike, the lack of transparency is now becoming part of the broader conversation surrounding the game's launch and rapid decline. Tencent involvement isn't unusual in the modern gaming landscape. The company holds stakes in countless Western studios and publishers, but undisclosed backing always invites scrutiny, particularly when a project begins to unravel. So again, it brings into somebody like Jeff, or Golf, or however you want to pronounce his name, Jeff. um, um, and him doing the whole hyping up of the game during the ending of the Game Awards for 2025. Now that this information is out there, it's gonna make him look even more terrible because if he goes into like the Game Awards this upcoming December, and it's like we got a brand new game, hope you guys are excited. A lot of people are probably gonna be like, oh, he's paid shill, he's been paid off to like hype this up because of Highguard, and so a heavily promoted reveal that now looks different. When Highguard was first unveiled at the Game Awards, that reveal itself drew attention of how prominently it was featured. The presentation was spearheaded by longtime show host Geoff Kingley. Geoff, why am I so bad at pronouncing his name? I don't know. I just want to say Jeff for some reason. Rather than the studio directly, an unusual approach for such an obscure that title. That's right. That's right. He didn't even name the. That's right. He like the student. Yeah. Now think about it. Yeah. But anyway, so this is just a tweet here. Now it makes sense. Stephen Ma, Senior Vice President of Tencent, is on the advisory board of the Game Awards. That's why Jaw was pushing this so hard. Gotcha. See? Make you look bad. Uh, that reveal is now being re-examined following the Tencent funding disclosure. Tencent executive Stephen Ma serves as the Game Awards adversary board, creating an indirect I'm so bad at pronouncing things. Institutional overlap between the event and the game's financial backer. To be clear, there is no evidence of wrongdoing or preferential treatment, but the connection is enough to keep the speculation alive online, particularly among viewers who already question the game's stage prominence. So yeah, it's again, it's like you didn't do again. Like I said at the beginning, you didn't do any kind of like advertisement for the game. You didn't do any kind of open access. You beta, none of that stuff. You didn't do anything. And now it just makes sense because if it came out that Tencent was behind this game, it was going to be heavily criticized, and it is being criticized. Now, again, there's no evidence of wrongdoing, but the fact still remains. Everybody sees it now, and so people are going to go like into these future game awards with like very much questioning on whether or not this is done by a legit company. Is Tencent behind this game? Stuff like that. So, strong launch, then immediate collapse. Yeah, they had like 97,000 people. Yeah. Curious. Let me see real quick. Um, so as of right now, of me recording, Highguard is sitting at 934 players right now. So, yeah. Okay. Despite early skepticism tied to its reveal trailer, Highguard didn't post respectable launch numbers. The free-to-play PvP raid shooter reached nearly 100,000 concurrent players on Steam shortly after release, a solid debut for a new live service title, but the momentum didn't hold. Critic reviews landed in middling territory while users' reception trended negative. Within weeks, player engagement began falling sharply. Recent Steam concurrency figures have reportedly dropped to around 1,000 active players, a catastrophic decline for a multiplayer-focused live service shooter that depends on sustained population levels to function. Yeah, you're not going to run a server with just 1,000 people in it for this game. I mean, you could, but it'd just be stupid. Um, like you need a heavily populated server to keep that thing going. Recent in that genre, population collapse often becomes a death spiral. Fewer players lead to worse matchmaking, which drives even more players away. So, and then, we're going to get into some more of the stuff I talked about on Friday. Layoffs rock Wildlight Entertainment. Then came to the development that shook confidence the most. Shortly after launch, reports surfaced that the large portions of Wildlight Entertainment staff had been laid off. I think I'm not going to really go through this because we kind of talked about it on Friday. Um, all right, here we go. So, did funding change? With Tencent now identified as the primary financial backer, attention has turned to the studio's funding stability. Key unanswered questions include how dependent Wildlight was on Tencent financing, whether that funding shifted post-launch, if financial changes contributed to the layoffs. As of now, neither Tencent nor Wildlight had publicly clarified the situation, leaving room for speculation. Website outage sparks shutdown fears. So, adding to the uncertainty, Highguard's official website recently went offline, and as of this writing, has remained down for extended period without explanation. I wonder if it's still. It probably is. It's probably not. It's probably not coming back up. The game is definitely trying to see if I can find. Oops. Let's see. Let's see. Interesting. Their website is back up. I wonder when it came back up. Okay. Interesting. All right. All right. So added to the certain. All right. So while website outages can happen for routine technical reasons, the timing, following layoffs, and funding revelations have fueled speculation that support for the game could be winding down. Players are now openly questioning whether the title has a meaningful future. A live service warning shot. I think a lot of people are getting to the point where they just don't like live service games, like things like microtransactions and stuff like that. I hate it. I really, really hate it. Um, like games that give you everything you want, that like Baldur's Gate 3, Expedition 33, um, like Star Wars Outlaws did this, where you I'm trying to think how I want to word it. Like there was bonus content for the game, but only if you bought like the highest like pre-order thing for it. Like you they put sections of the game behind a paywall basically. And that was just another stupid thing. So a live service warning shot. From reveal to release, Highguard has faced an uphill battle, controversial awards show debut, negative early reception, rapid player drop off, mass layoffs, funding scrutiny, and infrastructure instability. The revelation that Tencent was quietly financing the project adds another layer to an already turbulent narrative and reinforces ongoing industry concerns about transparency, investor influence, and the sustainability of live service launches. For now, a skeleton crew remains in place to keep the game operational, but with other player engagements collapsing and key questions unanswered, the future of Highguard and the studio behind it remains deeply uncertain. So, yeah, yeah. So Tencent, I just want to check one more thing. Okay. Never mind. Okay. So yeah, that is basically that. Um, like the website does seem to be back up. So again, but they have a skeleton crew operating things at the moment, but it's only a matter of time because like we just looked and saw, you only have about 930 something people playing. Like if those people truly enjoy the game, that's great for them, but it's probably not gonna last very long, honestly. And the whole gaming industry as a whole is in a tough spot. Because we get into the situation where like these games, at least from triple A studios, they are just continuously trying to increase the price for their games, and it's just utterly ridiculous. Now there are probably going to be people who still will pay for the game, pay and buy the games and stuff like that at those prices. Not everybody's going to do that. That's why I appreciate games like I think Expedition 33 was, again, I know I talk about that so much, but there's a reason it was game of the year and it's an outstanding game. Like I think that game was maybe $40, maybe $50, and you got everything you wanted within the game. There was no uh I think there was a DLC, but they added it for free. There was like no other kind of microtransactions or anything like that within the game. Baldur's Gate 3 was pretty much the same way. They I don't think there was a DLC for that game, but you got everything you wanted at the initial launch, and everything you didn't get or you might have wanted in the game, guess what? Larian Studio went and added it into the game at at their earliest convenient. So I mean, those kind of things are going to keep the player base coming back for your games time and time and time again. I would love to, everybody says it, but I would love to have my own gaming studio to where just make games for people to play. We get into situations to where like we uglify female characters. A good example is Insomniac Spider-Man game. You see MJ in the first one, and in the second one she looks completely different and like just a little bit more hideous. But we'll see how things shape out. I don't know if we'll hear more about this whole Tencent Highguard situation. I'd be very curious to see on if we do or not. But guys, that is relatively it. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for watching. On Wednesday, we'll be jumping into my first time playthrough of Gotham Knights, which has its own issues when it first came out. I'm playing it for the first time, so definitely come and hang out and check that out. But guys, if you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you comment below. Check out the Nerd Talk channel, Kick, Twitch, Rumble, all that you can find down in the description below. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I will see you all in the next video. Y'all have a good one.